Bob and Roxanne roamed the room talking with others who were also attending the same gathering. Several of the people were acquaintances from various places, known well enough to carry on polite conversations but not much more. Food was good, drink was better. They were having a decent time. It was a casual party at an old friend's house. Actually, it was a friend of Bob's, a girl he had gone out with a couple times before he and Roxanne had met. It was several hours into the party and Roxanne, who was also several drinks in, realized that Bob had wandered off. She began wandering around looking for him and at last discovered him in the kitchen with Alice, arms wrapped around each other's waist, talking with a small knot of people. They looked too chummy standing there, Alice just about an inch taller than Bob, her long blonde hair lying straight down her back. Her face clouded over in anger. She turned away and got herself another drink. Bob eventually came back into the living room and found Roxanne sitting in an overstuffed chair, a full drink sitting beside her. "Hey, been looking for you," he perched on the arm of the chair. "Oh, I bet," she snarled. "What?" He recognized the tone and began to feel his good mood start to drain away. "I saw you in the kitchen getting all cozy with Alice." She picked up her drink and sipped at it. "Didn't look like you were looking for me too hard." "We were talking," he explained. "You could have joined in, just reflecting back on old times." "Old times," she huffed. "You mean the times before we met? The good old days, right?" "Just old times," he sighed. "Not better, not worse, just a different time." "What is wrong?" "I thought we were enjoying the evening." "Sure, I was, then I saw you and Alice getting all chummy talking with your old friends. Leaving me all alone with people I hardly know." She picked up her drink and took a swallow. "It's a party." "I was talking with other people," he pleaded. "Look, maybe we ought to be going, let me take that drink and pour it out." "No you don't," she held her glass more tightly. "I'm going to finish my drink." Alice walked in and sat down on the couch. "What is going on in here?" "Oh, we're just talking about the evening," Bob tried to cover. He looked around and realized it was just the three of them in the room and didn't hear any other noise from the other rooms. "Are we all that is left?" "Yeah," Alice laughed. "Seems once a party starts to break up, it breaks up fast." "Well, I guess we ought to be going too," he tried to start their exit. "I told you, I am going to finish my drink," Roxanne muttered, staring at Alice. "Are you all right?" Alice asked. "You seem a bit distressed." "Distressed?" Roxanne laughed. "What would I have to be distressed about? Maybe I'm just expected to sit around while my husband gets taken away from me." Another swallow of the drink. "What? Bob, are you having an affair?" Alice turned eyes wide. "No, of course not," Bob shook his head. "Rox saw us in the kitchen talking. She thinks you are trying to take me away." "What?" She fell back. "That's ridiculous." "Sure," Roxanne rolled her eyes. "She saw us standing in the kitchen," Bob explained. "Felt we were being too close." "Roxanne, believe me please," Alice pleaded, "Bob and I are just friends. We only see each other once or twice a year since before you two started dating. He's a great guy, but we just aren't having that kind of a relationship. I respect your marriage and wouldn't do anything to jeopardize it." "Oh, yes, of course," Roxanne slurred, "neither of you would ever do anything wrong, would you?" "Well, I wouldn't go that far," Bob answered. "None of us here are perfect." "No, not perfect at all, especially my husband." "Isn't that true, Bob?" Bob felt a chill run through his body. He had no idea what she had in her head. Once she started going down this dark road, it never ended well. Yeah, I guess that's true." You know, she turned back to Alice, my hubby has an interesting little hobby. Roxy. Bob started. Don't go there. Why? Afraid your old girlfriend might think a little less of you if she found out? Roxanne, Alice spoke softly. First, Bob and I only went out a couple times. Second, I don't need to hear of anything that is private between you. Private between us? Roxanne laughed. Oh, no, this is just for him. I wanted no part of it and I haven't said anything about it since he told me about it before we got married. Come to think of it, he told me before we were even engaged. Well, then perhaps it isn't something I need to hear about, Alice attempted to soothe her. I agree, Bob spoke up. And I think we need to be going. Come on, we're keeping Alice from doing whatever she wants to do. I told you, Roxanne growled, I am going to finish my drink. Bob looked at Alice. He was slumped over knowing he wouldn't be able to stop her now. Alice looked back at Bob with pity in her eyes, but she also had no idea how to stop her. Secretly they were both thinking the same thing, maybe she'll pass out. Roxanne put her glass back down and looked at the other two people in the room. She was relishing in the cruelty she was weaving. She let the silence draw out for a few moments. Bob likes dressing up, she announced. Really? Alice looked at Bob confused. I thought you didn't like to dress up. Always Mr. Casual. Oh, he hates suits and ties and even slacks. Absolutely despises wearing dress shoes, says they hurt his feet too much. Then I don't understand, Alice looked at Bob who had his eyes closed and head bowed. He had moved from the arm of the chair to another chair. Oh, he would love to dress up in a formal gown with silk stockings and high heels. Or maybe it wouldn't have to be so formal. He'd like a nice dress, or perhaps a skirt and blouse would do. Isn't that right, honey? Roxanne gloated. Silence enveloped the room once again. Bob was too mortified to say anything. Alice was unable to say anything. Roxanne just sipped at her drink again, grinning from ear to ear. She had scored a direct hit. She savored her victory but started thinking maybe she would push it further. Maybe you'd like to see it for yourself, she pressed. Perhaps you have something he'd like to wear for you. A dress, or no, wait, she looked over at Bob, maybe some sexy lingerie that he could model for us. What do you think, Bob? Wouldn't you like to show your old flame how you like to enjoy yourself? Not particularly, he whispered. Roxanne, I think you've done enough damage here, Alice spoke up. There isn't any need to embarrass him any further. I am guessing from his reaction that what you have said is true. I still have half a drink, she snapped. Not going anywhere yet. Bob stood up and reached for Roxanne's drink. Come on, it's time we left. No. Roxanne screeched and took a swing at him as he reached for her. Bob backed off, not knowing what to do. He turned and looked back at Alice for help. He could see she was as stumped as he was. I'm so sorry. I am not leaving here until you embarrass yourself the way you've embarrassed me, Roxanne announced. Embarrassed you? Bob looked at her agape. How have I embarrassed you? You are doing a good job of that yourself the way you are acting now. I wouldn't be acting this way if you hadn't been all over each other out in the kitchen, she spat. We were not all over each other, Bob objected. We were standing there, we had our arms around each other, but that was it. It's true, Alice added. We were just talking with everyone else standing there. You know what you need to do to end this, she slumped back in the chair and sipped at her drink again. The glass was nearly empty. Bob looked at Roxanne trying to silently plead with her, but Roxanne refused to meet his gaze. At last he turned to look at Alice. She was slumped back as well, frustrated by the situation. Alice, Bob's voice broke as he spoke, I hate to ask, but is there any way to satisfy her request? I'm afraid it might be the only way to get past this. Are you serious? Alice came back. We could just wait her out. As drunk as she is, she'll likely pass out in a few minutes. Ha, Roxanne spat. Now that his little secret is out, he can't wait to get into something of yours. Frankly, I'm afraid that she won't pass out, or if she does, we'll still have to wake her to get her to the car and we'll be back at it again. I'd rather try and get this over with. Alice sat and thought for several moments. Fine, she sighed. I think I have something that will work. She stood and started toward her bedroom. Better make it good, Roxanne called after her. End this now, Bob pleaded. You got what you wanted. You told her about my, hobby. You got me to admit it was true. You don't need to get her to give me her things to wear. You've never wanted to know anything about it after I told you. Why would you think she wants to see it? Just because I don't say anything about it doesn't mean I don't think about it. And you think I don't notice my things have been moved around or wrinkled? I'm reminded of it a lot more often than you think. Now one of your friends will get to enjoy it too. Bob, Alice came back into the room clearly embarrassed. I set something out on my bed. Take a look and see if you think that will help. She shot a dirty look at Roxanne. Bob got up and sheepishly walked to the bedroom. He found a red and black bustier on the bed with a pair of black stockings and black panties. He couldn't help feeling a little excited about the idea of putting these things on, even though he also dreaded it. He took a deep breath and proceeded to strip off his clothes. He put on the bustier. It was tight and took some work getting it on since he was a bit larger than Alice in all the wrong places and smaller in other. Once in place, he sat on the edge of the bed and worked the stockings up his legs. He had to hold his breath as leaning over kept him from being able to breathe. He could see the hair on his legs in places through the stockings as he connected the tabs to them. His legs weren't very hairy, which he was happy for, but there was some that could be seen on close inspection. He stood up and stepped into the panty. He got a chill as it slid up his legs over the stockings until he slipped it into place. He stepped to a mirror to look. It wasn't pretty, the body wasn't too bad, but his head was decidedly out of place. Then he realized the panties weren't as opaque as he thought. The light fabric made his penis fairly easy to see because they were stretched so tight. He thought about looking for another pair but felt guilty going through Alice's drawers. He briefly wondered if she realized when she set them out. He was about to bite the bullet and go back to the living room when he noticed a black leather miniskirt on a hanger hanging on the doorknob of the closet. He went and checked it out, deciding at last to try it on. It was tight, but he was able to get it zipped up. At least it covered the worst of his problem. Again, he was about to leave when he decided to take a peek into the closet. It took him another minute to find a sheer black blouse that would work. In for a penny, he told himself as he slipped into the blouse. It didn't really cover anything, but it felt right. He took as deep a breath as he could and walked back to the living room. Roxanne and Alice both turned to look at him as he walked into the room. He looked defeated, his shoulders were slumped, his head hung down. Roxanne erupted in laughter. That's quite an outfit she set out for you. Actually, Alice, Bob stuttered, I'm sorry, but I saw the skirt hanging on the knob and decided I needed to borrow it. Then I borrowed the blouse. That's quite all right, Alice answered. Her heart was aching to spare him from any more. Oh, you picked out the skirt and blouse? Roxanne once again laughed. This is even better than I thought it would be. Hey, Alice, what do you think of your old boyfriend now? Alice started to reply but thought better of her initial response. You know what, it just isn't right getting all dressed up like that and not having any makeup on. Bob, have you ever tried makeup? Bob's heart fell even further realizing his friend was now climbing onto the taunts. A tear fell as he shook his head. Makeup? Roxanne sneered. Oh, what a perfect end, yes, definitely. I was thinking maybe another dress, but makeup for sure. Well, if you have never done it before, then you will need help. Alice got up and went to Bob. Roxanne, are you sure you trust me to be alone with him? Oh, if you can find anything attractive about him now, I don't know what to think, Roxanne giggled. Go, try and make him pretty. Alice took Bob by the arm and led him back out of the room. They could hear Roxanne chuckling and talking to herself as they left the room. Once back in the bedroom, Alice had Bob sit on the side of her bed. She took notice of how he tucked his skirt under and folded his hands in his lap. Look, we can just hang out here for a few minutes, Alice told him. Without someone to torment, she'll pass out in no time. Why do you put up with this? Is it like this a lot? Bob sighed. If you really are going to try and do makeup, you ought to do it. She won't pass out this fast, not now. Something changed a few months ago. He hesitated as Alice started work on his face. Most of the time things are like they always are. She is kind, helpful, and cheerful. Then all of a sudden it is like someone throws a switch and she goes off on these rants about nothing at all. I've tried to get her to talk to a doctor about it, but so far she hasn't found it necessary. Tonight has been the worst one yet. If she remembers any of this tomorrow, maybe she'll finally go. He sat in silence while Alice continued putting on the mascara, eyeshadow, and lipstick. She was just finishing up when they heard Roxanne call out. You don't have to try and make him beautiful, just make him look like the girl he is pretending to be. Well, I guess that is it then. Alice put down the tube of lipstick. Take a look and then head back into the other room. I'll be along shortly. Bob got up and went to the mirror and gaped. Wow. Yeah, it isn't bad, Alice smiled. If I had a little more time and desire, I bet I could make you look even better. You could make for a fairly attractive woman. Bob turned and gave her a smile before leaving to head back to face his wife. God damn! Roxanne hollered when Bob came in the room. She did a hell of a job on you. I can still see you in there, but not too bad. No way in hell I would want anything to do with you looking like that. Gee, thanks, Bob sighed. Now, you got what you wanted. Why don't I get dressed and we leave and get out of Alice's hair? Speaking of Alice, where is she? Roxanne leaned forward trying to look past Bob up the hall. I don't know, he told her. She told me to come back in here after she finished my face. So, you feeling all girly now? You look like you should be out on a street corner. All you lack is some fuck me pumps. When is this going to end? Bob tugged his skirt down a little. When I say it does, Roxanne barked. This has been quite an educational. Her voice trailed off. Bob turned and looked and saw Alice entering the room behind him, only she had changed a lot. She was wearing a white mini dress whose long sleeves were only a little shorter than the dress itself. She had a gold rope belt around her waist. Bare legs showed below the dress except tan gladiator sandals that reached to just below her knees with a 4-inch heel. She had redone her makeup and hair looking like she was ready for a night out at a club. After doing Bob's makeup for him, I started thinking about how much fun it would be to have a friend like that for playing dress up and stuff. Usually I would have thought a girlfriend would be perfect for doing it, but now I am thinking, why not a boyfriend? I mean, look at him. He looks great. It would be fun to do different things together. Tonight is club night. Short skirt, grand makeup, put on some music and dance. Maybe another night we could have a candlelight dinner in formal dresses and quiet music. Maybe watch a chick flick together. I bet you'd like watching one with me, wouldn't you, Bob? She wrapped her arms around one of his arm and rubbed her leg against his. Bob was confused. Excited at the prospect of evenings like she suggested, but confused by her suddenly coming on to him this way. She knew he couldn't be unfaithful, especially not with Roxanne sitting right there. She was just going to piss her off more. What the hell are you talking about? Roxanne finally pried herself out of the chair and staggered toward the two of them. He is still my husband. Maybe you would do well to remember that. Alice called back at her. You've tried to destroy this man tonight. Tried to make him look bad to me, but what I see is a strong, faithful, loving man that is doing his best to put up with a woman who seems to delight in torturing him. I know he would struggle with having to choose to leave you, but if he did, I'd take him in a heartbeat. I see something in him tonight that I didn't see in him before. And I could surely deal with him liking to wear a dress on occasion if it meant I could have the rest of him all the time. You need to straighten out whatever shit you have going on, or you are going to give me or some other woman a chance to have this amazing man in our life instead of you. Roxanne stood just staring at the two of them. Bob had actually turned to look at Alice, stunned. You're right, Roxanne blinked and a tear rolled down her face. I don't know what made me do that tonight. I know he wouldn't cheat on me, but when I saw you two looking so chummy, I just felt like you wanted to be rid of me. Bob, I'm sorry, take me home please. Roxanne turned and grabbed her purse and stumbled toward the door. Rox, wait. Bob called. I need to change clothes and clean up. Don't worry about it, Alice hugged him, bring the clothes back when you can. It's late, just don't get stopped by the cops. You sure? He squeezed her. Yeah, I'll get your clothes from the bedroom. She turned and left him. Bob got to the front door and saw Roxanne leaning against the side of the car. It was locked and the keys were still in his pants pocket. Here you go, Alice handed him a bundle. I hope you get things sorted out. And if you don't, well, I was serious about having date nights in the house. I realized it while I was finishing up your makeup. I started getting all horny thinking about the way things could go. Now, you better go tend to your wife, I have another B.O.B. waiting for me. Another Bob? He was confused knowing they were the only two left in the house. Battery-operated boyfriend, Alice winked. Now go. They kissed briefly on the lips. Both felt a strange sensation from the lipstick on lipstick. Bob turned and walked to the car, fishing through the pockets for his keys, marveling at the odd feeling of the air against his stockinged legs and under his skirt. He punched the button unlocking the car and tossed his clothes in the back. Roxanne didn't move. He scurried around the passenger side and saw she had passed out on her feet. He got the car open and wrestled her into the seat while trying to keep his skirt from riding up. At last he waved to Alice, still watching from her doorway, and got into the car. Once they arrived at the house, Bob thought briefly of letting Roxanne sleep in the car until she woke herself up, but decided he couldn't do that. With great effort he managed to get her into the house and dropped her onto the bed. He went to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. He felt bad having to say goodbye to the girl in the mirror. Alice had done an amazing job. He unzipped his skirt and unbuttoned his blouse, then deposited both of them on a chair in the bedroom. He peeled off the stockings but noticed he had managed to ruin one of them. Walking barefoot on concrete wasn't a good idea. He resolved to buy Alice a new pair when he returned them. He peeled the panties off and finally undid the bustier. He sighed as his body relaxed, released from its prison. He washed his face and put on his own clean underwear and climbed into bed. Roxanne was already snoring away. He was exhausted and it wasn't enough to keep him awake. Some time later. Bob walked to the door, a paper shopping bag in his hand. He knocked and waited to see if there would be an answer. He'd delayed this long enough. Bob. Alice squealed. It's been a long time. I thought maybe you'd forgotten about me. No, of course not, he grinned sheepishly. Things have been a little crazy for a while and, well, I thought I ought to get your things back to you. He handed her the bag. Thanks, why don't you come in? She stepped back out of the doorway, allowing him room to come in. I didn't care much about the lingerie, that was why I chose it for you that night. I was thinking about getting rid of it. The skirt and blouse, on the other hand, well, it is one of my favorite skirts, so I'm glad to get it back. She tossed the bag onto a chair and sat on the couch. Can you sit for a minute, or are you disappearing again? Yeah, thanks. Bob looked around for a moment and decided to sit on the edge of the couch. Like I said, things have gotten crazy. The day after the party, Roxanne said she didn't remember much of the night before. When I told her what she did, she said I was lying, and even showing her the clothes didn't convince her. I told her she needed to see a doctor and she refused. 2 days later, she stopped by a bar and drank far too much again, and I had to get her home. Fortunately, she wasn't quite as belligerent. When I insisted she see a doctor, she started accusing me of trying to stop her from having any fun at all. 2 weeks later, and a few more incidents, I told her see a doctor or I was moving out. Well, I found a furnished apartment that rented by the month. I figured when she realized I was serious, maybe she would finally get the help. That didn't go as I planned. A week later, she told me she met someone who wouldn't try and stifle her fun. She wanted a divorce. We filed 2 months ago, and I have been trying to put my life in order since then. I've had that bag of your clothes sitting in a corner of my room since I moved out. I had to buy new stockings because I ruined the pair you gave me walking out to the car and driving that night. Took me a while to find some of the same quality. Oh, you didn't need to do that, Alice assured him. I wish you had called. I would have at least been an ear for you to unload to. Thanks, but that isn't what I wanted things to be like, Bob explained. Also, I think I wanted things to work out. She may sort herself out, but now things have moved on too far. I think I finally got my head back on straight, which is why I thought I would bring your things back and ask if you had plans for tonight. Maybe a little dinner somewhere? Oh, Bob, I'm sorry, but I already have plans for tonight, Alice frowned. Oh, yeah, hey, that's okay. Bob got up and started wandering toward the door. I should have expected that this late a notice wouldn't work. You probably ought to be getting ready. I'll get out of your way. I wish I didn't, really. Alice followed him to the door. Hey, no problem. Bob forced a smile as he walked out the door and turned to face her as he reached his car. Perhaps I'll try again one day soon. I'll just give you more notice next time, okay? I'd love that. Alice smiled broadly, trying to show her sincerity. She watched Bob start toward the car door and called out, Bob. He stopped and looked. Do you have plans for tomorrow night? No, I don't. What about dinner tomorrow? She looked about, checking and seeing nobody else. Formal dinner, here. I just bought a beautiful dress for a party last month, and I have another one I wore last year that I am certain would fit you. Say, you come over about 4, we'll get dressed when you get here, I'll help you with your makeup again. Then we'll have a nice candlelight dinner and a quiet evening together. That is if that is still something you would like to do. Are you serious? Bob stammered. Well, yeah, Alice giggled. You wouldn't believe how often I've thought about that since the party that night. And I couldn't talk to anyone else about doing something like that, it had to be you. I just never thought I would get the opportunity. If you are up for it, that is. I mean, I realize you were forced into your confession that night, and maybe it soured you on the idea. Truth is, Bob looked around nervously, I've worn the things I returned today a few times since I moved out. I like to sit there imagining us talking and having a nice time like you said that night. Great, Alice's face lit up in a genuine smile. Then I'll see you tomorrow around 4. 2 questions first? Bob asked. Sure, anything, Alice waited. Is there anything you'd like for me to pick up for the dinner? I can get all of it, or part of it, whatever you'd like. I'll text you a list tomorrow morning, how's that? She laughed. If I had planned better there wouldn't be a list. Well, this is last minute, and I appreciate it, Bob grinned. The other question, long or short dresses? Long for both of us, Alice winked. Yours is black, beaded, layers of chiffon in the skirt, lace and beading on the top, half sleeves. Since you replaced the stockings, I think the corset will work well with that dress as well. Mine is, well, I think I'd like mine to be a surprise. Maybe if we have as good a time as I think we'll have, you might decide to surprise me one day. I think I'd like that. Bob was tingling with excitement. I'll see you tomorrow at 4. And I think I'll spend tonight looking for some shoes online because I don't want to ruin stocking every time. I won't have them for tomorrow, but I think we'll be doing it again. Sounds like a plan, Alice waved. Hey, if I get home early tonight and want to call you, would it be okay? You can call me whatever time you get home, Bob waved and got in the car. Alice watched as he drove away. She played with the idea of canceling her date for this evening but decided it was best to carry through. No sense being rude to the guy, and he had already paid for tickets to a play. She turned and went back into the house wondering if she could get Bob to tell her what size shoes he might wear. She thought she could get to a store in the morning and find a pair for him for tomorrow night. That would be a nice surprise. That dress would certainly look better on him if he were wearing heels. A shiver ran up her spine and she giggled with the excitement of the next evening, wishing this evening were already done. Bob approached the door for the second time in 2 days. Once again he was carrying shopping bags, though this time more than one and filled with groceries rather than Alice's clothes that he was returning. Yesterday, Bob was nervous about seeing Alice again months after his soon-to-be ex-wife decided to try and embarrass him in front of her. He wondered if the things Alice said were true or just an attempt to help him in the midst of Roxy's tirade. He was nervous because he had also decided to ask her out. Then she surprised him by asking him to dinner tonight and even suggested they would be wearing long gowns for a candlelight dinner. Could it really be true? Now his feelings were all over the map. Nervous about a date, excited about the prospect of Alice helping him get dressed up, cautious because he had never encountered positive comments when he talked of liking dresses. Was he being set up to look like a fool? He certainly never would have told Roxanne about it except they were to be married and they needed to share things and be honest and open with each other. And if he hadn't shared, she wouldn't have been able to try and embarrass him at the party. But she hadn't done that, he wouldn't be standing there ready to have dinner with someone who might care for him more than anyone had in his past. He let his breath out in a long, slow sigh. The door opened. You going to just stand there all night? Alice asked from inside. I heard your car door and expected a knock. You okay? Yeah, I guess so. He got his feet moving again and started through the door, just a little gun-shy I guess. I can't say I blame you much after that display Roxanne put on, Alice reassured him, but I promise I'll never do something like that to you. If you aren't feeling good about this, we can just have dinner. We don't have to dress up or anything. Bob continued through to the kitchen, put the bags down and looked at Alice for the first time since walking in. She had already fixed her hair and done her makeup the way one would for a formal event. She was in a baby blue robe that reached the floor, tied tight around her waist. No, I'm okay, really, Bob smiled. I just have a case of stage fright I guess. I really want to do it. Good, Alice went to him and hooked her arm through his. Bob noticed her leg flashed white when it peeked through the opening in her robe. Now I've already done most of what I need to do to get ready except put my dress on. Now it is time to get you ready. They marched together back to her bedroom where Bob saw some things spread out on the bed. It was a touch of déjà vu as he spotted a black corset, black stockings, and a black panty lying there. Now, if you like, take these into the bathroom and change, Alice instructed him. There is a robe hanging on the back of the door. You can wear that while we work on your hair and makeup. Are you sure you really want to do this? Bob's hands shook as he collected the items from the bed. I do if you do, Alice responded. So, now get to it, or let's go work on getting dinner ready. Bob hesitated only a moment, then went into the bathroom. A few minutes later he emerged wearing a white robe that reached about mid-thigh. His legs were black below the hem of the robe. Terrific, Alice smiled. Take a seat here and let's do a real makeup job on you. That last rush job was good, you have a great face for it, but I think I can do a much better job. Alice went to work and had gotten the base and powder done when she reached down and stroked Bob's leg, pushing the robe open a bit. Did you shave your legs? Yes, Bob's voice hitched, worried that he had pushed things too far. He pulled at the robe trying to cover his exposed thigh. I like it, Alice answered and went back to work. She added some color to his cheeks, did a dramatic look on his eyes, even adding false eyelashes. She went to work on his hair and managed to spray it into a configuration that looked fairly feminine. So, what do you think of my handiwork this time? Alice asked as she gave Bob a full view in the mirror. It's unbelievable. Bob watched the deep red lips form the words in the mirror, shocked that it confirmed he was actually looking at himself. Yeah, I told you it was a hack job last time. Alice swiveled back and forth as she looked at her masterpiece in the mirror. I know we are going to have such a good time tonight. Now, come on. Let's go prepare dinner. Like this? Bob was confused. Of course, Alice answered and started toward the kitchen. The dresses have too much material to work around the kitchen together, and I don't want to take a chance of getting anything on either one of them. Oh, I guess that makes sense, Bob followed. They spent the next half hour getting the steaks broiled, potatoes nuked, asparagus blanched. They talked mostly about food and restaurants through the preparations. When everything was ready, Alice handed Bob a bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon to open. The cork gave a satisfying pop and he poured it into a decanter to let it open up to its full flavor. One more thing, Alice pulled open a drawer and pulled out a couple baggies. You need to have breasts for that dress to fit you right. A little substance within the corset you are wearing. She filled the bags with flour, made sure they were even and sealed them. Also checked to be sure no excess white powder would be floating about to land on any of the black material he was or would be wearing. May I? She reached to the front of Bob's robe and pulled it open a bit. He just stood there unable to say anything or move. Alice slipped the packages into the cups and gave them a few squeezes and pats to be sure they looked right. Okay, gotta say I've never done anything like that before. Let's go get into our dresses. She took Bob by the hand and led him back into the bedroom. She went to the closet and pulled a large bag from inside. It opened with the high-pitched whistle of the zipper as she ran it around the outside. Bob gasped when he saw it. You like? Alice pulled it from the hanger and held it up. It's beautiful. He gently ran his hands across it, feeling the material, checking the transparency at certain parts. And you are going to look amazing in it. Alice unzipped the back. Let's get you into it. Bob looked around for a moment. Oh, would you prefer to put it on in the bathroom by yourself? I didn't think you'd be bashful about this, but it's okay. No, I'm fine. Bob untied the robe and took it off. These panties you gave me, well, they are even more transparent than the pair from the party. I mean, the lace doesn't leave a lot to the imagination. Well, unless things have changed down there over the years, I've seen it before. A wry smile creased her face as she glanced down at Bob's panties. Now, get into the dress. He stepped into the opening and Alice pulled it up his body, then up his arms. He turned and she ran the zipper up his back, sealing him into it. He felt a tear come to his eye as he ran his hands over the lace, his breasts, and down, taking handfuls of chiffon and holding them out, looking at the layers of skirt adorning him. He was happier than he had ever been. You look really great, Alice commented, but there is something wrong. The dress is too long, you'll be tripping over it all night. Hold on a second. She went back to the closet and came out with a shoebox. Have you ever worn high heels? Not really, no, Bob answered. My feet are a lot bigger than yours, he protested. They won't fit me. Humor me, Alice commanded. Take a seat on the bed. Pull your dress up a bit. Bob did as told and pulled his dress up, exposing his leg from the knee down. Alice knelt down and pulled one of the shoes from the box, a black sandal with about a 3-inch heel. She slipped it onto his foot and fastened the tiny buckle. To Bob's amazement, it fit perfectly. Stunned, he lowered that foot and extended his other foot. Alice got the shoe on and stood up. Looks pretty good to me, she nodded. Let's get you up on them and see how they do. She helped Bob stand up. The dress fell back down his legs and the hem of his dress now hovered above the floor. Perfect, Alice commented. I don't understand, Bob wobbled a little, trying to find his balance atop the slender heel. Well, since you were doing all the food shopping today, she explained, I decided I could do a little shopping of my own. When I collected your clothes so you could get Roxanne home, I noticed the size of your shoe that was stamped inside. It stuck with me because it happens to be the same size I wear, except of course men's sizes are different than women's. But it gave me a place to start, so I bought you a pair of shoes. And you notice the corset isn't the same one you borrowed. Except for the dress, everything you are wearing belongs to you now. Oh, Alice, Bob was flabbergasted. You shouldn't have. Do you not like it? She asked. No, I love it all, he assured her. It is just too much. I don't think so, she shook her head. I think it is just enough. Now, help me into my dress. She turned and got another bag from her closet. Bob's eyes grew larger as he waited to see the dress she had chosen to wear. The bag opened, revealing a long red dress. Alice laid the dress on the bed, undid her robe and tossed it aside. Bob watched her in her white long-line bra, white lace-top stockings attached to a lacy garter belt, and a white lace panty every bit as sure as his own, except when she turned away from him he saw that her panty was a thong and the bra dipped down in the back to just a strap. His heart skipped a beat as he watched her bend to retrieve the dress from the bed and unzipped it. Okay, Alice handed it to him. Your turn to help me. Bob oriented the dress and squatted down to allow Alice to step into it. His gown billowed about him as he lowered. He pulled the dress up Alice's legs, unable to avoid taking a closer look as he came to her hips. She held the top as he checked to be sure the hanger ribbons were tucked inside and then worked the zipper up the short distance it had to travel in the back. While his dress was sheer above the bust with lace and just a hint of a sleeve, Alice's dress was strapless, and there wasn't a lot of back to it, just enough to cover the back of the bra she wore. Her skirt was also layers of chiffon and above the waist was also covered in lace. So, what do you think? Alice spun for his examination. Oh, my, Bob gasped. You look beautiful. Let me get my shoes and we'll go eat. She held her dress up, went to the closet and brought back a pair of red sandals. Bob insisted on helping her the way she had helped him, and once he got his own dress out of the way, he slipped the shoes onto her feet and helped her up. "I can't believe we are really doing this," Bob whispered. "To be honest," Alice answered, "neither can I. I never thought I would want to do something like this. And you never struck me as the kind of guy that would do it either. But once the idea got into my head, well, I just had to find out. So far, I am having an amazing time. I hope you are too." So far, Bob smiled and felt his lips stick a little. "I am beyond describing how good I feel. Let's go eat." Alice took his hand and led him away. They set up their plates, lit candles, doused the other lights, and poured the wine. Bob carefully arranged his dress as he sat and placed his napkin in his lap. He watched Alice doing the same on her side, though it seemed to him she did it without really thinking about it. Alice picked up her glass, to new adventures and old friends. Bob grinned and lifted his glass. They met over the table, ringing out a single note to affirm the toast. They sipped. Throughout dinner, they chatted about things that seemed like everyday conversation, not focusing on Bob's trials and tribulations with Roxanne or his wardrobe for the evening. Alice had decided before Bob had arrived she wanted to start the evening as though everything was a normal dinner with a friend if Bob had appeared the least bit freaked out about what they were doing. While she saw he was edgy, he was handling it well enough. But she wanted to keep it light to start. Plus, she was still trying to decipher her own feelings. Once dinner was over, they cleared the table, but Alice convinced Bob to leave the dishes until later, once again citing a desire to not take a chance on getting anything on either of their dresses. They walked back into her living room. Alice turned on some quiet, slow mood music. "Would you dance with me?" she asked. "I would like that," Bob answered. "I just hope I don't fall off these shoes. I am still getting used to them." "Don't worry, nothing fancy, just a little hug and sway." Alice moved closer and wrapped her arms around him. They moved a little about the room, taking small steps and staying close to each other. Bob saw a reflection in a mirror and watched what appeared to be two women dancing together, their dresses sliding around their legs and flowing against each other, sometimes black over red, or red over black. After a few minutes, the music changed and Bob asked to take a seat on the couch. Alice agreed. He moved to one end of the couch and carefully gathered the voluminous dress as he sat and arranged it nicely. Alice sat beside him, leaning against him with her head on his shoulder. She laid an arm across his stomach. "I've had an amazing time tonight," Alice whispered. "I'm so glad you came back." "Me, too," Bob sighed. "It has been a fantasy come true." "Thank you. Can I ask you something?" Alice spoke a little louder. "I'd say at this point you could ask me anything," Bob replied. He wished he could see her face to read what might be coming, but everything felt so comfortable. "Why?" Alice asked, then realized there wasn't enough of a question. "Maybe I should ask, why are you attracted to wearing women's clothes?" "Oh, well, I wish I could really answer that." Bob gently stroked Alice's bare back. "When I was a little kid, maybe 4 or 5, I saw a girl my age in a dress. She looked so pretty and I just wanted to touch the dress she was wearing. I think it was felt. Then I found myself pretending something would happen to me and I would have to wear girl clothes. As I got older, I got a bit daring and started trying things on that I found in my mom's drawers, or a neighbor's if I had a chance. The more I did it, the more I liked it. I often wondered if I should have been born a girl." "Oh," Alice was stunned a bit by the last of his confession. "Do you think about dating men then?" "Huh?" Oh, Bob realized what he had said, not really. "It's a hard thing to define. I sometimes wonder if I had been born a girl if I would prefer dating men. Or maybe I would have been a lesbian because I really do prefer to be with women sexually. My fantasy tonight about having an evening with another woman as a woman, well, it is the start of a much longer fantasy." Really? Alice purred. She began slowly pulling Bob's dress up his leg. Bob sat for a moment watching as the material slid up his legs. Soon his knee became visible, gradually his thigh. When the edge of the lace top of his stocking appeared, he reached down and stopped her. "Wait," he croaked. Alice stopped and sat up. "You don't want to?" she asked, perplexed. "Oh, trust me, I want to in the worst way." He pushed his dress back down. "But I'm still married." "You've filed for divorce," Alice protested. "It is just a formality of the courts now. Unless you want to get back together with Roxanne again." "No," Bob shook his head. "That won't happen. There isn't any way I could forgive her now for the things she has done and said. But to me it is still like having an affair. I made a promise, and as long as I am married to her I will keep that." "I'm sorry. I am going to ask you to be patient with me. Maybe I should have waited longer before coming around." Alice sat quietly for several moments. "No, I understand." She leaned in and kissed him gently on the lips. "It is more of what I didn't see in you before. It is what made me even angrier at the party and want to defend you against that crazy woman you are married to. Please, stay here for a moment, I'll be back." Alice got up and left the room, leaving Bob sitting there with his thoughts. He got up and poured himself another glass of wine, and after hesitating for a second, poured another for Alice. He returned and sat back on the couch and waited. Alice came back to the room. She was back in her robe again. She moved to the couch and took up her same position, leaning against Bob's shoulder. Her robe opened for a moment and Bob caught a glimpse of pink height on her thigh before she readjusted her robe to cover herself again. "Thanks." She picked up her glass and took a sip. "You aren't going to send me home like this again, are you?" Bob asked, a little nervous. "Only if you want to." Alice snuggled a little closer. "I just decided to get comfortable again since we weren't going to do more." "We are good then?" Bob asked. "We'll see how things go, but I'm sure everything is going to be great." They sat there listening to music, just enjoying being in each other's company for another hour. Bob broke the silence. "Can I ask you why? Why did you come up with this idea? Not many women I've met think a whole lot of a guy that likes doing this." Alice didn't answer right away. After some time he finally answered him. "I'm not sure why I got the idea. Sure, I was trying to defend you at first, but then when I saw you in my skirt and all, something went off deep inside me. I felt bad about the embarrassment you were feeling, and anger at Roxanne, and then a little attraction. Suddenly I wanted to reach up your skirt, and I knew what you were wearing because I gave it to you. It made no sense to me. I've never looked at another woman that way. I've even felt anger at other men I've caught trying to look up my skirt, but here I was wanting to do that to you. I suggested the makeup to give you a chance to get away without more humiliation, but to be honest, I hoped you wouldn't do it. I enjoyed doing your makeup, then I decided to do myself up to show Roxanne what a bitch she was being and how lucky she ought to consider herself. I'm relieved she didn't take my advice. I told you when you left I was feeling very horny." "Ah, yes, the other B.O.B., he laughed. They sat together for a while longer, then Bob told her he needed to go, so they went back to her bedroom and Alice helped him out of his dress. Bob went into the bathroom and changed out of the rest of the clothes and back into what he wore when he first arrived. "You mind if I leave these here?" He indicated his shoes and lingerie. "Up to you," Alice told him. "I thought you might like to have them to wear at your place. Maybe even buy yourself a dress." "Not yet." He started toward the front door. "But I hope to come back and wear them again. In the meantime, would you like to go out with me? I mean a real date, dinner and a movie." "Sure," Alice answered. This will be interesting. Taking sex out of the equation for now will be different. They shared a kiss and Bob left. Over the next several weeks they dated. They went out often to restaurants, clubs, movies, and all the places one would go on a date. They also chose to stay in and have dinners where Bob would get to dress up. Alice tried to talk him into going to a movie once dressed up, but he refused, being too scared to be seen in public. He got new lingerie, but only if Alice did the actual purchase. He'd provide her with the money. One Saturday, Alice asked him to participate in one of her favorite activities, cleaning out her closet. Bob and Alice were both in bra and panties, going through all the clothes in Alice's closet. They would try on an outfit and decide whether it would be donated, kept, or if maybe Bob would keep it. So far they had eliminated about a half-dozen outfits. Bob had 3 she didn't want but he liked. Alice had just come out of the closet in a long lime green silk skirt with a matching top that bared a bit of her stomach. I don't know, Alice held the skirt out, which was pleated and reached to just above her ankles. I really love the way this one feels on me, but I just never wear it. What do you think? Maybe you'd like it? Bob reached over and took hold of the skirt, feeling the fabric. It feels great, but I can't wear something that shows my stomach. What does that matter? She pressed. You never go out. It would just be something nice around the house. It would still be wrong for me. Bob let the skirt fall from his fingers. I know we've talked about it, but I still don't get why you won't go out with me as my girlfriend once, Alice pleaded. You look great, nobody would ever guess. I know a lot of people around here, he protested. Someone could see me and guess. And what if there was some kind of accident and I ended up in the hospital? Be sure you are wearing clean panties? Alice offered with a grin. Funny, Bob laughed. Okay, fine, go find something else, Alice instructed him. Bob went into the closet, pulled a long dress from the hanger. This was casual long rather than anything like the gowns they wore for their first dinner together. It had an elastic top above his breasts as well as below. From there it dropped to the floor with a slit that ran up the right side to just above his knee. I don't really think orange is my color, he told her as he came out. Alice finished pulling her top off and tossing it on the donate pile. She turned to look Bob over. That is another old one, but it is just so comfortable. I think I ought to keep it. Bob was about to pull it off when his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw it was Roxanne. With a deep breath he punched the accept button but also the speaker button. He didn't want Alice to wonder about it while standing in her bedroom in her dress. Alice had her skirt down to her ankles when she heard Roxanne's voice. She stepped out of it and tossed it onto the pile and sat on her bed. So, Roxanne started, congratulations. Congratulations for what? Bob sighed. We're single again, Roxanne answered. Found the papers today, decided to celebrate. Figured you might be celebrating too. Out at the bar already? Bob shook his head in disbelief. It was barely noon. Hey, I've been having a really good time now that I'm not being stifled by you, she sneered. Well, congratulations to you too then, Bob told her with no happiness in his voice. Rox, you need to get some help. You are a completely different person. You're damn right I'm different. I'm having more fun than I've ever had. Have a good life, Bob. The phone went silent. Bye, Roxy, Bob spoke to the phone. I don't know what to say, Alice spoke softly from her place on the bed. You are free of her, which is a good thing. But I see you still care. How can you love someone enough to marry them and suddenly stop caring? Bob gave a weird little laugh. But it's over. Alice got up clad once again in only bra and panties, and wrapped her arms around him, just holding him. He held her as well, and they stood like that for several minutes. Bob was suddenly aware that he had been gently swaying back and forth, letting the dress he had on gently caress his legs. He leaned back, but not so far as to make Alice let go of him. "I'm free." "Yes, you are." She reached up and brushed a stray lick of hair from his face. "And I thought I would want to take you straight to bed. But now, I think we both need some time. There isn't much left in the closet. Are you up for finishing up? Or I can do it on my own." "No, I think you are right, time. And I want to help finish." Bob took his arms down. "Okay." She turned and walked back into her closet. Bob walked over to the dresser and mirror. He picked up a pair of earrings that were in a bowl and held them to his ear. "What about the dress I am wearing? Did you tell me?" he called. "Keep it." Alice came back into the room. "And I am keeping this one too." She had a tight red and black dress on. "Yes, that looks great on you." Bob dropped the earring back in the bowl and proceeded to peel off the dress he had on. "Looks better with the right underwear." Alice turned to show the very visible lines her underwear showed on her behind. "What would you think if I got my ears pierced?" "Wow, that is quite a step." Alice took off her dress and hung it back up. She took his dress and added it back into the closet as well. "Are you thinking you might be ready for a public outing?" "I don't know about that," Bob backtracked. "But lots of guys have their ears pierced, so why not? Besides, I think it will look better with some of the dresses I am inheriting from you. Might look for a little extra costume jewelry as well." She grinned. "A couple necklaces, bracelets. Are you sure you are ready for this?" "Yes, I believe it is time to start living my life." Bob stood up straighter. "Then you ought to." Alice smiled at the sight of Bob's breasts popping up as he straightened. It was funny how attached she had become to both his personas. They tried on a couple more outfits before calling the clean-out complete. Then they dressed and headed for the mall. After a stop at a club for a drink to help steel Bob's resolve, they found a place and Bob had a diamond stud adorning each of his earlobes. Feeling emboldened, Bob picked out some jewelry and found a little black dress that he really liked, suggested a semi-formal dinner at home that night. When it came to the register though, he handed everything to Alice and offered his card when the total was rung up. Alice thought it was cute. He was making strides, or maybe she should call it steps. But he was still with her rather than running off to be by himself to deal with the official end of his marriage. They had grown so close over the last several weeks. She looked forward to the times they went out together, and to the times they acted like girlfriends spending the day together. He had gotten pretty good at doing makeup and they sometimes did each other's. Tonight would be another dinner in. This time she was certain they would end up in bed together. She definitely planned on wearing her sexiest underwear. Again she laughed to herself. This afternoon they were both running around in bras and panties that really weren't anything special, but for tonight it had to be sexy. She wondered what he might choose to wear. The excitement of anticipation. They left the store and started back to the car. Alice reached over and took Bob's hand. Their fingers immediately intertwined. She knew they had already started on a wonderful lifetime together.